The old railway cut across a remote northern village in Vietnam. Once an important coal transport route during the French colonial period, it was abandoned in the 1980s after a series of gruesome accidents. Now only rusted tracks remained, half buried under weeds, with crumbling concrete pillars and trees swallowing what was left. Locals called it the haunted tracks, claiming that each night a phantom train's whistle could still be heard echoing through the mist. The main character, Kang, was a senior journalism student. For his final thesis, he chose the topic, Cursed Places in Vietnam. Intrigued by the legends, he picked the old railway as his case study. According to villagers, people had seen headless figures walking along the tracks, a ghostly train packed with drowned passengers, and cries echoing from beneath the old bridge. Joining him was Tuan, a freelance photographer who enjoyed capturing eerie scenes to sell online. Unlike Kang, Tuan didn't believe in ghosts. To him, this was just an opportunity for rare and striking photos. They arrived at the abandoned station one gray autumn afternoon. The air was damp and cold, mist rolling in from nearby rice fields. The building stood like a corpse, its walls stained with moss, windows shattered, and roof beams sagging with rot. As Kang stepped inside, he heard a faint clinking of metal, as if someone were tapping lightly on the rails. Tuan laughed it off. "Probably just a stray tat," he said, snapping photos. But Kang couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. In one corner of the station, a long black stain streaked down the wall, shaped like a dangling body. He looked away quickly, but in the cracked mirror nearby, the shadow seemed to sway, as if it were moving. Before arriving, the two had spoken with an old villager. The man's voice trembled as he warned, "If you are around at night, don't walk the tracks. You'll meet someone, but they're not among the living. Young men have gone in and never come back. Only their shoes were found on the rails. If you hear the whistle, cover your ears. Don't look around." Tuan had scoffed at the superstition, but Kang took it to heart. Something in the man's eyes told him it wasn't just a tale. They pitched a tent near a broken stretch of track, about half a kilometer from the station. The night was pitch black, no moonlight, only the sound of insects and wind through the grass. Around 1 a.m., Kang jolted awake. Outside, he heard the slow grinding sound of wheels on rails. He shook Tuan. "Do you hear that? A train." Grumbling, Tuan crawled out with him. Ahead, in the thick fog, a dim yellow glow slowly emerged, accompanied by the screech of metal. Yet, the rusted rails beneath their feet didn't vibrate at all. Tuan snapped photos frantically, but when he checked the shots, each frame was a blinding white, except for a faint imprint, like a hand pressed against the lens. Then came the whistle. Long, piercing, mournful. Kang's ears rang, his whole body numb with cold. For an instant, he saw ghostly passengers in white crowding the cars, their empty eyes staring, necks bent unnaturally as if broken. He screamed and fell backward. When he looked again, there was nothing, only mist. Tuan stammered, "Must have been a trick of the fog." But right beside their tent, the ground showed a trail of wet footprints dragging into the woods, though the soil was dry. At dawn, Khan and Tuan woke feeling tired and exhausted. The surroundings were still covered in thick mist, with bamboo and reeds swaying in the cold wind. They took out some dry food and drank water, but both remained silent. No one dared to mention the phantom train from the previous night. Tuan tried to rationalize. "It's probably just the fog and fatigue. Let's not think about it too much." Khan remained quiet, but his eyes stayed fixed on the rusted track where they had seen the wet footprints. The prints stretched into the forest, disappearing among the bamboo. He felt as if something was watching them, step by step. As they walked along the tracks to survey the area, several strange events occurred. While Khan picked up a fragment at the station, he heard faint footsteps on the gravel behind him. He turned around, but saw only the silent forest. When he continued walking, the footsteps stopped. While Tuan photographed a rusted rail car leaning to one side, a figure in white briefly passed behind him. He spun around, but no one was there. Near a small viaduct, Khan heard whispers, soft as the wind passing through the leaves. "Go, leave." The whispers were so quiet that outsiders could not hear them, but it was clear that they were not caused by wind or birds. While surveying the station, Khan found an old notebook, damp and tattered. On the first page, hastily written in faded ink, it read, "These tracks are not for the living. The curious will see themselves in the dark. If you hear the train whistle at night, do not look directly, or your soul will be taken." Flipping through, he discovered a list of fatal accidents from the 1970s and 80s with strange notes. A worker disappeared, leaving only a helmet on the tracks. A young couple was run over, their bodies never found. Dozens of strange footprints appeared around the station on moonless nights. Khan realized that this was no longer just a rumor. The railway held a horrifying secret that the villagers dared not speak of. As they prepared to leave the station to find another location, Khan felt cold eyes watching from the bamboo forest behind him. He turned, seeing only mist and swaying trees. A few steps later, he heard a dry, mournful scream echoing from beneath the viaduct, as if someone were calling for help. Tuan froze. "We should go." Khan did not want to give up. He recorded the scream, telling himself, "This is exactly the unique material I need." But as they walked along the rails, a strange object rolled towards their feet. Bending down, Khan saw a rusted helmet with some damp soil inside. A chilling sensation ran down his spine. That night, Khan decided to pitch their tent near the old viaduct, where many accidents had occurred. Darkness was thick, mist covered everything, and the atmosphere became heavy and oppressive. Around midnight, Tuan woke up hearing light scratching on the tent fabric. Khan shone his flashlight and saw a pale hand pressed against the canvas, but as soon as the light landed on it, the hand vanished. The wind blowing through the tent sounded like whispers. "Go, leave," repeated 3 times as a warning. Tuan trembled, saying, I don't want to stay here anymore." But Khan, driven by curiosity, replied, "Just one more night. I have to uncover everything." He believed that a terrible secret awaited them at the end of the tracks, and if they didn't discover it, he would never answer the mystery of the haunted railway. On the third night, Khan decided to venture deeper into the abandoned railway. Tuan insisted on not going further, but Khan forced him to follow, claiming they needed enough material for the thesis. The night mist was so thick that their flashlights barely illuminated a few meters ahead. Walking along the rusted rails, the only sounds were the wind whistling through the trees and the dry grass rustling, making each step feel heavy. The silence was so intense that Khan could hear his own heartbeat. Suddenly, in front of them appeared an abandoned rail car, isolated on a section of track overgrown with grass. A strong, foul smell rose, the scent of rusted metal, damp earth, and something unidentifiable. Tuan trembled. I think we should go back." But Khan stepped forward, trying to stay calm. "Just once, then we go home." As Khan approached the rail car, white mist rose from it, curling around like ghostly smoke. Within the mist, he saw faint human shapes, heads bowed, empty eyes staring, their white clothes flickering in the flashlight's beam. A whisper came from the mist. "Why have you come?" Khan's spine chilled. Tuan screamed, but his voice was cut off by a hoarse laugh, coming from every direction, as if dozens of people surrounded them, though no one was visible. Suddenly, Khan's foot got caught on something soft. Looking down, he saw a hand gripping his ankle, cold as ice, nails rusted. He recoiled, feeling himself pulled toward the darkness. Tuan rushed to pull him, but their feet felt as if pressed into the ground, heavy as lead. In the flashlight's beam, Khan saw a pale figure with a distorted face, lips moving silently, as if begging, yet the eyes were empty and lifeless. Khan took a deep breath and tried to stay calm. He realized that they could not escape or rely on light alone. They had to confront what was before them. The train whistle. A long, slow whistle echoed from afar. Suddenly, a phantom train appeared on the rusted rails. All the figures in the mist knelt as if paying respect to it. Khan saw a headless man raising his hand, empty eyes fixed on him. Red-stained footprints appeared on the ground, stretching toward the forest. When Khan looked again, the footprints seemed to move toward where they stood, creating a sense of being surrounded. A girl in white emerged from the darkness, long hair covering her face, eyes closed, lips trembling as she cried, "Return, the soul." Tuan backed away, paralyzed with fear, forgetting even how to breathe, muttering Khan's name incoherently. Khan suddenly realized that the ghosts did not want to harm them, but were warning them. He found the old notebook and read a blurred passage. "The souls of the missing are trapped on the tracks. Curious visitors will see them, but cannot save them. Only by placing a living object on the old rails and praying can the spirits be released." He looked around, took a working flashlight, placed it on the rail, and prayed as the villagers had instructed. "Spirits, please, go in peace." Gradually, the figures dissolved into the mist. The screaming, laughter, and cries stopped abruptly, leaving only the wind rustling through the trees. Tuan collapsed, trembling. I never want to see this again." Khan gasped for breath, the icy sensation finally beginning to fade. Yet deep down, he knew the railway's secret remained, and anyone as curious as them would face the same fate. After the spirits disappeared, the two stood silently. The mist was still thick,
and the moonlight faintly appeared in the distance. But the environment was unnervingly silent. No insects, no wind, as if the whole world was holding its breath. Khan looked at the old notebook and noticed the last pages were blank, waiting for the next curious person to record their tragedy. Tuan didn't dare look around, but he could still sense something watching them from the shadows, even though they had released the trapped spirits.
After the terrifying night, Kaing and Tuan decided to leave the railway area at first light. They walked in heavy silence, their footsteps on the gravel sounding like slow funeral drums. Kaing held the old notebook tightly, cold sweat running down his back despite the early morning chill. Tuan followed behind, pale and silent, occasionally glancing over his shoulder as if someone were silently following. On the way out of the station, they saw the old man who had warned them. He looked at them, shaking his head slightly, his eyes full of pity. "You've seen it, haven't you? But not everyone comes back." Kaing asked, trembling. "Really? On those tracks? Are there spirits?" The man did not answer directly. He said, "When I was young, I worked there. Accidents happened one after another. Bodies were never found, but every night the sound of trains ran through the area. People say there's a train carrying souls, gathering the dead and taking them somewhere no one knows. When the railway was abandoned, the spirits became trapped. No one dares to go there anymore." He paused, looking straight at Kaing. "If you've seen it, speak little. What belongs to the dead should be left alone." Kaing and Tuan left the village, returning to the city. They thought the story ended there, but it didn't. After the trip, Tuan became withdrawn, quiet, and often startled in the middle of the night. Once Kaing visited and found him sitting in a dark room, staring at the camera screen. When Kaing asked, Tuan replied, "In every photo I take, there's always someone standing behind me." Kaing turned pale. He reviewed the photos, and indeed, in all pictures taken at the old station, there was always a blurry figure in white, empty black eyes standing silently behind them. Kaing decided to open the old notebook to write his thesis report. But when he turned to the last page, which had been blank, a scrawled message appeared, as if written by itself. "The last one to leave will return." The ink was still wet, as if written right before his eyes. Kaing threw the notebook into the drawer, heart racing. That night, in his sleep, he dreamed he was standing on the old railway again. The phantom train rushed past, and all the spirits turned to look at him, whispering in unison, "Return, return." A month later, news reported the 2 young men in the area went missing after going to photograph the abandoned railway. Only shoes and a backpack were found on the rusted rails. Kaing read the report, sweat running cold. Deep down, he knew the railway never stopped calling to the living. Curious people would be drawn in, replacing the souls that had been released. That night, as Kaing sat writing the full story for his thesis report, a strong wind blew out his desk lamp. In the darkness, from outside the window, came the long, cold sound of a train whistle slicing through the night. Kaing froze. He knew he had never truly escaped. The story concluded, but left a haunting question. Had King really returned safely? Or was he now one of the trapped souls recounting the tale to us? The old railway remained, shrouded in white mist, waiting for the next curious soul to step onto it.